Hello everyone, we are now at part 3 of our solfeggio frequencies video. We're going to go back to what we did in the first video for a minute and listen to the scales on this video put up by Transcendental Tones. We're going to play it again, the equal tempered one, followed by the solfeggio frequencies, what they considered the ancient lost solfeggio frequencies, which in reality really aren't so lost because we still have the sheet music that Guido of Arezzo himself used to write the hymn of the St. John the Baptist. The only problem with it is the ancient solfeggio frequencies are not the same pitches that Guido himself used. So we're going to start with listening to this scale again. So here we go. Okay, so in listening to that scale, hopefully you can hear the difference between the equal tempered and the solfeggio frequency scales or notes themselves. If you go back to this list that I have here, that second version, you can really hear the difference in those intervals that I was showing you in the last video. And if you remember, you're going to have to jump between 4 different tuning systems to make those pitches work. And the fact that the 639 or their fa and the 852 and their la do not fit within any tuning system that's anywhere close to the ones that are here. That's important to note that. Again, if you remember that Guido of Arezzo invented the solfeggio system to teach students how to sight sing and sight read music, and his scales were based on Pythagorean tuning. So let's go back and listen to the Pythagorean scale, which is going to be at 153. And you're going to notice again how close it is to our current system, which is the equal tempered system. Okay, you will notice if you heard that scale, there are slight differences between that and the equal tempered scale. Equal temperament, all it did was made the distance between all of the pitches exactly the same. The Pythagorean tuning, there's going to be slight differences within 4 or 5 cents between the pitches, but they're not going to be as extreme as what you see here. So there's no way that these solfeggio frequencies fit within the Pythagorean tuning. So it's impossible for Guido to have used these specific pitches, considering he used Pythagorean tuning. Okay, going back with that, we're going to listen to one of my favorite videos. Howard Goodall is a composer and music theorist from England. I use his videos all the time in class since I teach a music history course. So if any of you music history students are watching, you'll recognize these videos from class. This particular piece that we're going to show you here is how Guido actually came up with musical notation. Notice as you're listening to the video that there are actual lines and spaces that he put the notes on. Because he was a monk, he knew all the chant repertoire. And it's a matter of finding a way to put the chant repertoire he was used to hearing on in some form of musical notation, which he did. So this is talking about how he came up with that. So let's watch a little bit of Howard Goodall.
Guido wrote 2 medieval blockbusters on the teaching of singing. The most influential, Micrologus, he wrote here in Arezzo. he demonstrated his new lined method of notation that made the reading of notes utterly simple and clear. His biggest idea was the washing line principle. He drew one straight red horizontal line, like that. And he called this F. He said this would always represent the note F. So he put an F at the front of it like that. Now nowadays we'd call that a clef, French word for key. And Guido invented it. So a blob on the line meant sing the note F, la, and a blob above the line meant sing the next note up, la, G, and a blob below the line meant sing the note below, E, la. Now I know this seems fantastically simple to us, but then so does the wheel, and it took mankind a long time to figure that out. Eventually he added another line in fetching yellow above it, which represented the note C, and a third line between the two, which represented the note A, and the spaces between them were G and B. So you have F, G, A, B, C. And here are those lines copied out in a copy of his book, Mycologist. And all you had to do was follow the blobs on the washing line, grazie Roberto, and you could read the notes one after another, easy as pie.
We continue on and listen to a little bit of Beethoven's Ode to Joy. Okay, you'll notice in that particular video that every note had a specific place on the staff. So Guido knew exactly where to put the notes to match the pitches that he was hearing, and we still use that same system of notation with an added line today. So because of that, we're pretty positive that the specific notes that are there are going to be pretty close to what we're singing today. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next Howard Goodall video, where it actually goes to the museum in a town called Tala, and this is from the same video. And you'll notice I'll show down here, it's Howard Goodall's Big Bangs, Episode 1 Notation, and the screen name person Christian Chopra put it up there. All you have to do is go into YouTube and type in Howard Goodall's Big Bangs Notation, and you will come across this video. Very, very informative. And again, I use this in class all the time to teach non-musicians how to read music and the basics of where our modern notation came up with. Okay, so this is the section where we actually are introduced to the hymn of St. John the Baptist.
It was Guido who invented the do-re-mi singing scale we all so enjoyed in The Sound of Music. It's still in use today as a means of teaching children to sing, just as it was nearly 1,000 years ago when Guido first came up with it. To pick up some more clues about this remarkable, elusive figure and to see his do-re-mi singing scale in action, I visited the small hillside village of Tala, 30 kilometers from Arezzo, where, legend has it, Guido was born. A veritable Guido shrine has been lovingly created, high above the town. The vice mayor, the curator of the museum, the policeman, and the town clerk took me up to see their exquisite Guido museum. Tala may not have much scholastic hard evidence for its claim on Guido, but its welcome for the Guido tourist is second to none. This is the museum? Yes, my grandpa was in the museum. Thank you. What's this display here? The museum, though small, isn't short of state-of-the-art lighting wizardry. Violin, yeah, you have the guitar, you have the... Yeah, and the tambourine. All the parts of the orchestra. Of course. Aha! And here is Guido's singing system in handy kit form against the wall. Like Maria in The Sound of Music, Guido taught his chorus with a little ditty that he made up. His song ut queant laxis wasn't quite as catchy as hers. His choruses didn't wear lederhosen either. Never mind, the idea was the same. Now, the names ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la are the first syllables of each of the Latin phrases of this memorable hymn. Guido's system was actually called ut, re, mi, not do, re, mi, by the way. But that's another story. I think you'll agree that the phrase ut, a deer, a female deer, doesn't have quite the same ring to it. Now, each of the phrases begins with a different note, and the notes are arranged in a neat ladder from bottom to top, low to high. Ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and tea, a drink with jam and bread, was added later in case of wondering.
I'm going to stop it here for a second. You notice the scale that he just sang was an actual scale in the Pythagorean tuning system. So as you listen to this, you will notice, and I said out in the first video, the letters were redded out, meaning that the first two letters are in red so that you can see ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So it should be a progressive scale-wise motion where there are not the large leaps that you see in this. I'll go back to this here for a second. If you're looking at this list here, if you remember all those large leaps that you have, that was not what Guido came up with. Okay, so let's go back and finish listening to this video, or this section of it.
If I press this handy knob here, a group of monks, forever trapped behind this wall, will sing the whole phrase in Latin. In order to help his singers with the new ut, re, mi system, he even devised a trick whereby each of the notches on the fingers of your hand represented a different note of the scale. It was called the Guidonian hand. A bit like having a pocket calculator with you at all times. In fact, Guido didn't know which of his three techniques, time notation, ut, re, mi, or the curious finger device, would be the most useful. But gradually, all over Christian Europe, it was his four-lined stave that became universally adopted. By the 12th century, all chant books looked pretty much like this one, with the standard 4 lines, so that anyone, anywhere, with the right training and a bit of gumption could read the tune. The 5th line that we're familiar with, by the way, was added for other sorts of music in the 14th century. What Guido was trying to do was cut down the learning of the Gregorian chant from 10 years to 1.
Okay, notice you said what he just said here. By making musical notation, it cut learning the chant down from 10 years to 1. That's one of the reasons he did it, and the solfege helped.
He himself had been a chorister. Indeed, the people of Tala suggest that he might have begun his life in the church as a young lad in this 10th century settlement, the Badia di Santa Trinita, hidden away deep in the Pratomagno woods, high above the town.
Okay, we'll stop the video here. So we'll continue on with another session of this. More of the comparing the different tonal systems and which tuning of the actual solfeggial frequencies is the true one. And then we're going to talk about different concert pitches and which ones tend to work the best. So thank you for this session, and we'll talk with you next time.